Welcome back to Let the Quran Speak. Now we answer questions we've received from you, our viewers. If you have a question yourself, please visit our website, www.quranspeaks.com. Okay, Brother Shabir, the first question is about some contradictions in the Quran, or supposed contradictions. So the person is saying that in some verses it says that God made the universe in 6 days, but in other verses the numbers add up to 8 days. So how does that work?
Well, in interpreting any book, we let some parts of it explain some other parts. We assume that for someone to write a book, obviously he has some intelligence to start with, and we interpret parts of the book in terms of the other parts. We may say, okay, this part looks a little bit obscure, but the author has explained it in more detail in another part. So we take the details from another part, we fit it in this part. So we do that with the Bible, with the Quran, with any other book. That's a reasonable way of proceeding. In the case of the Quran, then we have very clear statements saying that God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. It specifically says 6. Now, some people notice that, we all notice that in Surah 41, the 41st chapter of the Quran, Surah Fussilat, in verses 9 to 12, some details are given that God created the earth in 2 days, and then He measured out the provisions in the earth in 4 days, and it says, moreover, He turned to the heavens when it was smoke, and said to it, unto the earth, come willingly or unwillingly, and they said, become willingly. So He created the heavens in 2 days. Now, when superficially now, if you just think of the numbers here, it looks like there was a mention of 2, and then there's a mention of 4, and then there's a mention of 2. So that the mind says, okay, that's 2 plus 4 plus 2, that becomes 8. But there's no reason for you to add these together like this, because there's nothing that suggests it's this plus this plus this. In fact, there is the conjuncting particle thumma in Arabic, which means moreover. It could mean then, but it could also mean moreover. Now, because of this conjoining particle, Dr. Maurice Bucaille took the view in his book, The Bible, the Quran, and Science, that the last mentioned 2 days is really the same 2 days that was mentioned at the beginning, when the earth was created. So you have 2 days for the earth, 4 days for measuring out the provisions in the earth. That's 6 days so far. Then there's another mention of 2, but this 2 is the same as the first 2.
What's his justification?
Well, 2 things. First, the use of the conjoining particle thumma before the last 2, which could mean moreover. It's like we're turning back to what we already said, and we're giving you some additional details. Further, in the Quran, it is clear that God created the heavens and the earth together. Other verses bear that meaning. So the first 2 days in which it was said that God created the earth, that's the same 2 days in which it is now being said that God created the heavens. It's just that the heavens is mentioned later. The 2 days are looked again from the perspective of thinking about how the heavens came into existence. So that basically is what explains what appears to be a contradiction, but is not. In sum, everywhere in the Quran it is clearly stated, when the subject was broached, that God created the heavens and the earth in 6 days. And here, if we add up the numbers, they come to 8, but there's no reason to add up the numbers. But there is a reason to think that the last 2 days mentioned is the same as the first 2 days. So we just have 2 days for the heavens and the earth together, and then 4 days for measuring out the provisions in the earth. That's a total of 6.
Okay, so we have another question. The person is saying that how can you claim that Islam is a peaceful religion when there's a verse from chapter 2, verse 23 to 24, that says, commands Muslims to kill non-believers? How do you respond to that verse?
Well, we say that Islam is a peaceful religion because the Quran is the basis of Islam, and if Islam did not correspond to the Quran, it would not be Islam. And the Quran is in fact a book about peace. It insists in so many verses.
But this verse is found in the Quran.
Yeah, in fact, the reference is not correct, because the second surah of the Quran, verses 23 and 24, speak of the Quran being a revelation from God and an inimitable revelation. It's not about violence at all. That is not to deny that there are verses in the Quran which on the surface might appear to involve violence. And that is only because these were real situations that the earliest Muslims faced. They were those who were opposed to the religion. They wanted to wipe out the religion and its followers from the face of the earth, and they came after the Muslims in armies, ready to decimate the Muslim population. What were the Muslims to do? The Quran gave them permission to defend themselves, even in armed struggles. Hence the presence of violence or mention of violence in the Quran. But it's not a violent book in that it does not promote violence, rather it promotes peace.
All right, we can talk about that more in a later show. All right, thank you for your time, Brother Shabir.
You're welcome.
And that's all the time we have. For updates and additional information, please visit our website, www.quranspeaks.com, and write to us because your comments and questions help guide the show. I'm Safiya Ali. For all of us here at Let the Quran Speak, thank you for watching. I'll see you next week.
Allahu Akbar, Allahu Akbar. Allah